Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Derek Wallace, and it is my pleasure to talk to you about agricultural IoT and certain use cases and a case study on what we are doing within this space with our customers and our ecosystem partners. But first, before I go into that, I'll just tell you real briefly a little bit about MultiTech and our activities in the agricultural IoT area. So MultiTech, we are a manufacturer of M2M and IoT devices, connectivity devices. We sell a wide range of cellular and routers, gateways, and modems, and we have a full, very strong product line within the low-power wireless LoRa area. In the last few years, we've been very, very involved in the agriculture IoT space. As you can see on this slide, there are several use cases that we are actively involved in with different customers. And I personally have had several conversations with customers with use cases, and the things that have surprised me most is how often livestock monitoring comes up as a use case that is trying to be solved within agricultural IoT. They're trying to find out where the cows are within a very big space. They're trying to figure out which cows are sick at what time so they can quarantine them from the other healthy animals. And they're trying to find out when cows are about ready to give birth so that they can really enhance and quicken the birthing process. There's some very interesting stuff within this space, but my personal favorite, which is what I'm talking about today, is what makes the best IoT grapes. Now, I will admit, I really like wine. In fact, I love wine. And unfortunately for me, I didn't start drinking wine until my early 30s. And ruefully, sometimes I will think I just missed out on a whole decade of drinking really good wine. But I have made up for a lot of lost time. Not only in drinking wine, but really trying to understand what makes really good wine, what makes good grapes. And with the work that we're doing at MultiTech, with our customers, with our ecosystem partners, it's my pleasure really to tell you a little bit about what I've learned and how we are helping companies solve their problems. So, as you can see from the slide, there's a whole bunch of things going on, and I'll just kind of take you step by step. So what I've learned is winemakers, what they're really trying to do is stress the grapes to what I call the Goldilocks point. They don't want to overstress them. They don't want to understress them. They really just want to get them at that just right point so that those grapes are fantastic for making fantastic wine, which I will continue to drink. Now, the way that they need to do this and the way that they want to do this is they want to understand the environmental conditions about where these grapes and how they're growing and how they're being impacted. And if possible, they very much want to proactively monitor what's going on with the grapes, with the environmental conditions. So they really want to get access to soil moisture, flow, temperature, humidity, light activity, and other aspects of how the grapes are impacted. And they really need real-time access, or at least near real-time access, to that data so then they can apply analytics to provide solutions on how to get and stress those grapes to that Goldilocks point. So another thing involved in that is they don't want a single proscribed solution for an entire vineyard. That just doesn't work. It doesn't help create great grapes. And if you think about it a minute, think about a vineyard that you've seen on TV or in a movie or you've gone to yourself. Now, although there are plenty of low-volume wine producers out there in the world, I'm talking about vineyards that are tens of acres, hundreds of acres, and sometimes thousands of acres. And if you think about these acres and think about the grapes and the vines that you've seen, you may have an area over here with flat terrain and grapes growing on that may be by a body of water. And then over here, you may have a whole bunch of other grapes that are also on a flat terrain. There's no body of water around them. And then yet in another place over here, you'll see grapes growing up on a very large hill. Now, all of these areas could have different microclimates. And the way that the industry treats this is they put these areas into what's called blocks. And these blocks are how they are trying to figure out what solutions to apply to individual blocks so that they can stress the grapes at the right amount for the microclimates or the unique situations in those individual blocks. So if they get access to this data of the soil moisture and all these other elements for how the grapes are growing, but they can get that, use the analytics, Then they can go ahead and prescribe the solutions per block, which helps them create a much higher consistency of grapes and the stress Goldilocks point throughout the vineyard. It helps them with improving yields per block and overall in the vineyard. It helps them reduce their spraying and their watering amount. It's a lot of great information to help produce, again, those great grapes for the wine that I'm still going to drink. And I will keep repeating that because I do truly love wine. Now, what's really difficult in this is how to do this cost effectively. Right now, generally, historically, to put up a sensor network in a block, it costs around $3,000 to $4,000. And it's also very labor intensive and time consuming. Because previously, and what still happens today in many areas, is that the vineyards will send people out to the sensors with their laptop or their tablet. They'll take the readings off of the sensors. Then they'll go ahead and send that information via email to somebody who's going to gather all those different spreadsheets with all that sensor data, who's then going to go ahead and compile that to try to produce the solutions to improve the grape growing. This is where LoRa and MultiTech come in. Now, I'm not sure how many of you know about LoRa. I'm just going to explain it real quickly in terms of how LoRa is excellent for solving some use cases and pain points with an agricultural IoT. And keep in mind the vineyard. So LoRa is a low-power wireless technology that many of you may know, but some of you may not. And within IoT in general, and in the vineyards in particular, it's very good at overcoming 3 very strong pain points. So again, think about the vineyard. Vineyards are generally in areas where there's no cellular coverage. So trying to get access to those sensors that are out in the field via cellular is not possible. LoRa, as a low-power wireless technology, is excellent at getting range and connectivity without relying on cellular network, because it's its own protocol, to get connectivity to those assets. And because it's a spread spectrum technology, it's very good at dealing with the trees and the hills that are found in vineyards. Cost is another area. Cellular coverage, if it exists, or other technologies, may be too expensive to connect to all the different sensors that are out there. LoRa communicates via the ISM band, so that connectivity from every single sensors to a gateway is free, and our gateways can support up to a couple thousand of endpoints. So cost now is overcome, and power consumption. And IoT especially, there are many assets out there or sensors that don't have a power source. And so you need to ensure that whatever connectivity protocol you're using draws very low power. And LoRa is very good at that. So you can have a battery-operated asset that can survive for years on a battery, depending on how it's being used. So LoRa, and then in combination with our MultiTech products, really helps enable and overcome the issues of growing really great grapes. And now it's the use case part. So WaterBit is one of our ecosystem partners. And they do 2 things. They manufacture these great sensors, and they have a cloud analytics platform. And they utilize their sensors, which cover a meter square, or a meter around area, down to 5 feet depth. And these sensors are fantastic because not only can they take measurements within those areas down to 5 feet, they can take measurements at different depth levels within that 5 feet. And so you can see pictures here that the sensors are spread throughout the vineyard. They have our endpoint, our LoRa endpoint called an MDOT, integrated into them. And then they are able to send that information over LoRa to our gateway, which you can see on the right here that's up on the mast. Now the middle picture shows where the gateway is, which is the yellow dot, and then the distance between the gateway and the sensors that are out in the field. And you can see from here, it's from around 1 to 3 miles range. So with LoRa, with our products, with WaterBit, we can reach sensors that are previously very difficult to reach. We can enable that real-time collection of data and information by block to help the farmers and vineyards produce those great grapes for making great wine. Now, the way that WaterBit does it, because of the multiple depths of reading the sensors, they're able to get extremely accurate information on the soil, moisture, the temperature, the water flow, et cetera. And they are able to suggest to farmers and vineyards the right amounts of watering and spraying, the right frequency, so that they have, again, the right information and the right solutions to create great grapes throughout the farms, throughout the different blocks with their different microsystems. And because of the way that they go to market doing this, they're able to reduce that historical $3,000 to $4,000 cost per block by 50 to 75%. It's a fantastic solution, and we're very, very happy to be partnering with them to grow those great grapes to drink the great wine. And I will leave you with what Martha was talking about, which was Verizon. As she spoke correctly, we are also partnering with Verizon, which just happens to be right behind you, and they have a very good solution as well. Did I go too far? Oh, okay. As I bring that back up, so Verizon and their ag tech solution does many of the similar things, but in their unique way to help farmers grow great grapes. And they created a video coming up here, and I'll leave you with that. If you have any questions, we can follow up afterwards, or I encourage you to visit us at our booth. And also, please do go talk with Verizon about this solution. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have a nationwide contract with Verizon or partnership?
No, we just partnered with them. No, we partner with Verizon. They are an ecosystem partner. They're looking for hardware providers. They have their back-end solution. They have other hardware partners as well that they bundle together to put into this solution.
Here at Han Estates, we're essentially bush to barrel. We prune it all the way through harvesting, right to the barrels and the bottling.
If you look at the way crops have been grown for thousands of years, people have kind of tried to understand what makes the best grapes or what makes the best corn, what makes the best soybeans. And I think the IoT platform that we're building, as well as our analytic capability, gives us the ability to understand data and information at multiple scales, thereby giving growers and farmers better insight into what's happening on their crops.
This is what is known as Block 1. This represents about 6 acres. So what we're trying to do here is actually increase the precision so we can understand the individual needs per block versus applying prescriptions as a whole. We've installed flow meters on the irrigation system to measure the amount of water that we're actually applying. All of the sensors in the field communicate to a gateway housed here in the weather station. This measures both wind speed and direction, temperature and humidity, rainfall, and photosynthetically active radiation.
Now we're to the point where we've got the ability to look from UAVs, drones that are flying, we have weather stations, we have soil monitoring. When you bring all these things together, you're getting a very comprehensive view of what's happening on the ground. And that's what's really important to a farmer.
We think our solution will increase our customers' yield, reduce their spraying and watering, and it will increase the quality of the wines by increasing the uniformity of the field.
It's part of our sustainability to just find ways to do things more efficiently. And so I think that we're constantly learning, and this is really going to give us a lot more information to really fine-tune what we're looking for.
Okay. Do we have any other questions for Derek? Yeah.
How much does it cost to set up a network? A block. It really depends on the service provider that's offering it. So Verizon takes the MultiTech gateways as one part of their overall solution. They're the one that offers it. So I can't comment on the prices that they charge to set up their network. Well, if you look at traditional historical prices, around $3,000 to $4,000 to set up a sensor network per block, it's safe to say that the cost would be much lower than that.
Have you gotten any data on reduction in water usage, savings in water usage from the deployment?
I myself have not seen the data. I know that they have reduced. It's part of that. When you look at WaterBit and their 50 to 75% reduction, it's reduction across the setup and the ongoing maintenance per block. So that would include, reduction in spraying, reduction in fertilizing, and reduction in water use. Also, the time it takes to send people to physically go out and get the readings from the sensors that are out in the field.
Terrific. Okay. Now, one thing that is coming this year for Verizon and AT&T is Cat 1. So that's going to possibly replace some LoRa sensors. Where do you see sort of a sweet spot for solutions like this where Cat 1 won't penetrate?
So yes, with on the cellular side, because we have a long history of cellular technology as well, Cat 1 is actually already out in the market now. Cat M1 is being introduced, limited in the United States. Verizon has an announcement today or tomorrow about that as well, and then we'll eventually go to narrowband IoT. If you go back to the vineyards and agriculture in general, many of them are in locations that don't have cellular coverage. So if there's no cellular coverage, the Cat 1, Cat M, and narrowband IoT modules are not going to work in those situations. So I would say in those areas, LoRa or other lower power wireless technologies are going to be a good way to get that connectivity to assets that are out in the field that cellular or other technologies like Wi-Fi or Bluetooth don't have the range to reach.
Video we just saw, your gateway was in a weather station. So it wasn't just the sensor data, it was also some weather station data?
Yes, as the product manager talked about, it's collecting quite a lot of different data. Our gateway is programmable, so you can program your application on that. You can connect to the sensors that are out in the field via LoRa and get that information, but we have flexibility in terms of connectivity, local connectivity, because we have multiple accessory card slots in our gateway, so we can get other types of information from other protocols. So yeah, you would see, and as you discussed, that there's other information that's being fed into the gateway as well, which then is all being sent to Verizon's platform to crunch the data and prescribe solutions.